Okay, I see people can hear me. I see a thumbs up. So, speaking about ResMed, ResMed is one of the global leaders of sleep solutions, and it is one of the largest connected care device companies which provides sleep solutions. So currently, ResMed is present in. Okay, let me check. So can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you give a thumbs up if you can, if you are hearing me well? Okay. So I think ResMed is one of the companies which has pioneered sleep medicine, and we have close to 7,500 employees across the globe, with around presence in around 120 countries. So let's start discussing around sleep. And when I discuss sleep, it's really funny to say that whenever we go to any doctor or to any dietitian for that matter, everyone talks around healthy lifestyle. Okay, and by healthy lifestyle, you always hear that exercise at least 30 minutes a day. It could be any form of exercise, be it a cardio or kind of weightlifting exercise. But at the same time, they also say that please take healthy food, healthy diet, But I think the one of the most important part which is always left out is the sleep piece. So whenever I talk about a healthy lifestyle, we have to take three components into play. One is your sleep. Second is exercise, and definitely the diet part comes into play. And if you ask me why sleep is not spoken to that extent, I feel perhaps because sleep is a phenomenon, which actually happens on its own on a day-to-day basis. We don't have to force ourselves to get into sleep. Of course, there could be a certain percentage of people or individuals who have to kind of really try hard to get into sleep, but in reality it's a very physiological process. We don't have to strain ourselves. The other thing is that generally we feel that sleep is a very passive phenomena, that we're going to sleep and like everything stops, everything is more calm. But if I can tell you that sleep is not a very passive phenomenon, there is a lot of things which is going on inside the body while we are sleeping. So let's take few examples, like if I can tell you, almost all the systems of our body are affected, be it the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, the nervous system, or the reproductive system, and so on. But if I can tell you which are the systems which are very highly impacted, it's the circulatory system, mainly the heart and the blood vessels along with it. The nervous system, which constitutes of the brain and the nerves. So these are the systems which are heavily impacted. And how do we see it, whether they are impacted or not? Just imagine if you have not slept at night, or you have got just 4 to 5 hours of sleep. I'm sure you would feel groggy the very next day. Your productivity will decrease, and you will say that my entire day is wasted because probably I did not sleep well. So if you look at the brain, when we are sleeping, a lot of neural connections are getting restructured within the brain, and at the same time we call it scientifically something as memory consolidation. So that is also something which happens in the brain. So the brain basically undergoes a lot of in a common jargon we call it as servicing, just like our car servicing. So it undergoes a lot of servicing, and when you wake up next day, your brain is fully fit to give you that fresh feeling, so that you are able to perform both in your work life and in your personal life personal life. So now let's take another example. Suppose again you have not slept. I'm pretty sure the next day when you will wake up, you will find that you are not feeling very well. You are feeling uneasy. For people who are above 40, they can appreciate it more because the blood pressure would go up a bit. The heartbeat, they can feel the palpitation. So what I'm trying to say is that when we sleep, there is almost 10 to 20% drop of blood pressure which happens when we are sleeping. So our heart gets a lot of rest. So typically this is what we see. Okay, so what else so the few questions which comes to my mind is that and everyone typically we get these questions that how much should we sleep. So while we are sleeping, we have two important components. One is the quantity, the other is the quality of sleep. So if you ask me about the quantity, for a normal kid, for a young kid, it's ranging from 1 to 3 years of life. They need more sleep, somewhere around 12 to 14 hours, because a lot of brain development happens during that period. So these individuals who are in the younger age, they need more sleep. For teenagers, probably they need sleep for around 9 to 10 hours to perform better in their education and in their daily life. And if we look at adults, someone who is between 18 to 50 or 55 years of life, we typically need around 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So and these hours have been studied, and if you look at the AASM guidelines, which is the American Association of Sleep Medicine, you will find that they advocate that at least an individual should sleep for 7 hours a day, so that he or she can perform better the next day. So there has been a lot of scientific research which has come up in the last 50 years, and even our duration of sleep is getting curated. But then there's always I would say an exception. So again, realistic. So you would find people who have slept or who are sleeping on a day-to-day basis like 5 hours or 6 hours in the night, and they are doing perfectly well next day. They can do their daily activities very well. So at the same time, we can say that sleep is very individualistic also. There are a lot of guidelines how much we should sleep. So this is about, also look into the quality of sleep. So why quality of sleep is important? So suppose and it's a very interesting phenomenon. Suppose we have slept for 7 or 8 hours. In 7 or 8 hours phases of sleep. Basically we dream 4 times. Okay, and whenever we dream, those stages are known as the REM stage. So and someone would say that, okay, remember one of my, matter of fact, you have dreamt at least on an average 4 times. Okay, 4 times or 5 times in a night. So our quality of sleep is dependent on how deep we sleep. So if we are able to get into that REM stage, which is almost 25% of our sleep time, on a daily basis, we will say that, okay, the quality of sleep is much more better. And this is, I'm trying to explain you from very laymanish terms. There are certain tests and sleep tests which certain how well you are sleeping. Okay, so basically trying to say that it's not only the quantity, it is the quality which will also matter. But then there are a lot of impediments when we say that, okay, how do we ascertain the quality and quantity? One thing which we have a bit of control is on the quantity. And if I can quote, probably remember for a research article which was published a couple of years back. And as Indians, we are sleeping somewhere around 6 hours and 20 minutes, quite less. And if you consider cities like Delhi and Mumbai or Bangalore, where we spend almost 3 hours on the roads in the traffic, every time our sleep time. So suppose if you're planning to sleep around 10:30 at night, I'm sure it's going to get delayed somewhere around 11:30 or 12, and then you have to wake up somewhere around 6 or 7ish in the morning to rush back to the office or to do your daily chores. So on an average, we are sleeping just 6 hours, which is less. Okay, and if you ask me how sleep impacts body and mind, so sleeping less or if we are getting sleep deprived, it impacts our attention span. We have slower response time, our memory is worsening, and our mood also worsens. And I'm telling you because since the last and aggravated, this has happened because since the last 45 days we have a lockdown, and at the same time most of us are working from home. So preferably when you are working from home, you are using technology more. So everything is through technology, whether it could be a Zoom call, it could be a text message or a WhatsApp message or a meeting. So technological stress is there. The second thing which is happening is that your personal life and the family life, that line is getting blurred. So typically if it's a 6 or 7ish job, nowadays people are even getting calls and meeting invites. So I think that's another reason of stress, plus the use of technology, which actually so you have to be more attentive while attending any calls which are being done through technology. So what I want to impress is that lockdown plus work from home has put in a lot of stress into our system. Don't sleep well, there are problems which we will face in long term. So let me give you a few other examples which is hampering sleep right now. Common culprits is alcohol. If someone had alcohol and someone thinks that okay, if I take alcohol it puts me to sleep well, the first thing is okay, it would put you to sleep, but the quality of sleep is not good. Okay, so the quantitatively or qualitatively your sleep will go down. And at the same time, what would happen is that I think most of us have realized that you would wake up in the early phase of the morning to have a glass of water because you are all pumped, or you want to go to the loo to relieve yourself. And if you had a few pegs more, 3 or 4 pegs, probably you would have a hangover the next day. So these are all the effects which happens because you are not sleeping well. Okay, you haven't slept well because of the alcohol. What else? The coming up is most of us, which I see in my patients, they take their cell phones to bed. So constantly watching a cell phone, cell phone emits blue light, and this blue light actually disturbs our sleep. So our brain gets very activated. We fail to produce a hormone or a sleep inducing hormone, and blue light basically decreases the melatonin and we don't go to sleep. So one of the most important thing which I don't take your cell phone to, if you're planning to don't look at your cell phone or interact with your cell phone at least 1 hour before your sleep. So I think technology, even the LED lights and the LED TVs which we have, they also emit blue light to an extent. So that is also hampering our sleep to some extent. So what else? Caffeine intake, and this is something which I have found particularly when people are working from home. So in an office, if someone is having like 3 cups of coffee or tea, probably while he's working from home, he would be having like more than 3 or 4 cups of caffeine. So that's another issue. So cut down on your caffeine content. Okay, so that person is having very bad sleep. And what typically is that our upper airways, they collapse on itself, and the air, we cannot take the air inside our lungs because our upper airway is collapsed. So when we cannot take air inside our lungs, what typically happens is our levels in our body go down, and thus, and we get up from our sleep, and this is something which we call as micro arousals. You won't really feel that you have woken up, but in reality, perhaps in 1 hour you would have woken up like 5 to 10 times. A 7 or 8 hours of sleep, perhaps you have woken up like 70 to 100 times. So you never really dip into that deep sleep, and this is a typical case of sleep deprivation. So typically, how this condition is diagnosed, people who come to us, the symptoms are different in males and females. So males, they come to us, they're saying that, okay, my bed partner or my wife has said that I snore, and at the same time during daytime I feel sleepy, I feel tired and fatigued, these symptoms. And at the same try to tell that, okay, are you also a diabetic, or if someone, we see this kind of symptoms very intensive patients. So this is one way. And typically what we also find is in females it is much more subtle. Females usually do not snore much. What they typically say is that after getting up from bed, they say that, okay, I'm having a morning headache, or during the day I feel very fatigued and tired out of no reason. Or there could also be a kind of history of hypertension with obesity or overweight. So those are the areas which we see the comorbidities, if there is present. I think that is something which we always emphasize, that okay, if you have these comorbidities, please go for at least a sleep screening. So I think what I will do at the end of this session, I'll perhaps try to type in let me just type in where you can go and kind of see what would be like a sleep quiz. So I'm just taking a minute to type in that link which I have, so that you can assess whether you have any risk of sleep apnea. Okay, just give me a minute. Yeah, so I think I've shared the link below, which is actually a link to a sleep quiz. And if you take this quiz, I think you would be able to ascertain how well you are sleeping. And it gives you a varying degree of risk, like whether you are in a mild, moderate or severe risk. So if you are in a moderate to severe risk, probably you'll have to go for a something which we call as the home sleep test, which is typically done at home. Okay, and this is something which actually would comprehensively tell you how your sleep pattern is in terms of whether you are. So this is one. But I think what you can do right now is that the chat box is open. You can type in if you have any health query, and or if you have any sleep query. I'd be happy to answer this during this conversation. Okay, I would like to try to emphasize is regarding shift workers. Typically if you look at IT and e-commerce people, they have, or BPO sector people, they are working in shift. So how one of the common problems which I see is that they come to us and say that I want to get a better sleep. Few tips which actually say that how can I get a better sleep if I am a shift worker. So number one point, I think while you are working at night, try to keep your lights bright. Okay, so that basically you are trying to fool your body or brain by mimicking that, look, this is a daytime. So you don't get sleep during that period, but when you are off work, your brain tends to slow down and is more likely to get you into a better sleep. That is one. Second thing, on your coffee intake at night, typically we we take a lot of coffee, and coffee in our system takes almost 6 hours to move out. So suppose if you are or 5 o'clock in the morning, preferably you shouldn't have any coffee after 3 o'clock. So that is one thing which you can do. And the second thing is, when you are going off to sleep during daytime, try to keep your bedroom very comfortable, in a sense that there shouldn't be any distraction. Light should be there shouldn't be any light at all, or very dim light, and no noise at all, because it is during the daytime most other people in your family are active, and they would they can disturb your sleep, right? So that is one. So lastly, coming to the last tips which I would share, what are the key tips which you should take to get a good sleep? So number one, try to maintain a regular office time. So try to mimic office in your home. So if you are starting from 9:30, please start working from 9:30 onwards in the morning. And try to go to sleep on the regular sleeping hours. So if you are sleeping at around 11ish in the night and waking up at 7 in the AM, so please maintain that routine. Your body has got in tune to that routine. Plus minus 20 minutes is okay, but then please try to evaluate that routine which you have. Don't work from a couch or a bed. Don't work from a couch or a bed. Try to work from a desk or a table while you are working from home. And the most important thing which I always say, try to get some sunlight during the daytime. Do some moderate exercise, or kind of meditation during the day. What else? If you are finding it difficult, very soft music. Take a mild, lukewarm bath. If you are planning to sleep, so that also helps you to sleep well. And this is something which I always tell, that your bed is only for sleeping. Don't try to do any other activity, right? Something like sitting on your bed and gossiping, or having food or something like that while you are planning to sleep. So basically your body should get in tuned to the fact that, okay, this is a bed, and this is the only purpose of this is to sleep, right? So I think I'll stop here, and hope you have found this short lecture useful, and try to take the sleep quiz, which should actually help you to understand how you are sleeping well. And of course, if there is any questions, you can always ask me through this chat box. I'd be here for the next 1 minute. If there's any question, I can answer that. So meanwhile, let me give you also a helpline number which you can call up, and during weekdays, and we would be happy to take your queries and answer your sleep related issues. So this is the toll-free number which you can dial in, and this is a ResMed number which we would be able to help you out in your sleep. Okay, so thanks everyone, thanks for attending this call, and